Hey everybody, it's Katie. As promised, I wanted to share a bit of our experience so far dealing with lead paint in the rental house that we're living in. I want to share because I think it's really important information to put out there for other people if it can help anybody else. Just kind of want to dispel some common misconceptions about lead, and also I kind of need a place to vent. Like, this experience has been really stressful for both Mike and I, and my mama bear has certainly been awakened. We've had a lot of, hard conversations and just lost a lot of sleep over this, and I could use a little bit of an outlet. So lead is pretty common, especially in certain areas in the US, places where houses are older, where people are living closer together, especially places like here, Cleveland, Ohio, that is like post-industrial, so there could be lead just in the environment from, previous, like from factories and things like that. It's more serious for kids because it becomes concentrated in their small bodies. So I think the first thing people think when they think of lead is like kids eating paint chips in old houses. And yes, there is most likely lead paint. If your house was built before 1978, that's the year that lead was banned in paint. So if your house is from before then, you most likely do have lead paint somewhere in the house. If your house has been maintained well and stuff, and things have been updated appropriately over the years, like your lead is probably buried down below a lot of other layers of paint, and you might not have a problem. And one of the biggest misconceptions about paint in the house is that like kids get lead poisoning from like chewing on window sills or something like that, like eating big chips of paint. And that's not normally how it happens. It's normally through inhalation of lead dust. So this is like very fine particles of lead that just become part of your like household dust. And any dust on any surface, if your kid has that on their hands, or it's on a toy or something and they put that thing in their mouth, or if the dust is stirred up, you breathe it in and then the lead is in your body. So it's like very fine particles, and it's a very small amount that needs to kind of be present to affect a child. You can also have lead exposure from plumbing in your house, even if you're in new construction, like in the past 5 years, because there can be lead in the solder used in connecting pipes. And if your house is newer than 5 years, that lead could be like going into your water supply, and sort of after 5 years has passed, there's enough like mineralization and stuff of other things in your pipes that can kind of cover that lead up, and then you wouldn't have a problem. But I thought that was really interesting when I learned that it's not necessarily old houses, it can be new houses too. Okay, so the effects of lead in children are really serious. It affects your brain, so it's stuff like your behavior, your intelligence, your hearing. It's all pretty serious stuff that can have like far-reaching consequences for kids. Definitely not something you want to mess around with. So our experience, we moved into this rental house about 6 weeks ago. When we moved in, they disclosed that they didn't know if there was lead paint, but because it was built before 1978, that was a possibility. It's sort of like a standard legal thing when you come to occupy a place, or if you buy or sell a house. That is a document you have to disclose. If you know for sure that there is lead, you have to disclose that. This house was built in the 1940s, so we knew it was sort of a possibility that could have lead paint, but this wasn't a brand new concept to us. The house we had owned in the Southwest was almost 100 years old, and it didn't have lead paint issues because it had been maintained really well. So this rental house, unfortunately, had not been maintained to that level. When we placed our deposit and agreed to rent the house, it was promised that everything would be repainted, and when we came to move in, that hadn't happened. And so we've been having issues with kind of getting that accomplished. Part of the problem there is that the house is managed by like a property management company, but there is a like individual owner who has to approve all of the work that's done, and we're in a situation now where the property management company doesn't want to deal with the right way to like remediate lead paint. They just don't want to deal with it at all, and the owner basically doesn't want to deal with it at all either. So there's sort of like a fight going on between them, and so we're having issues with getting any kind of maintenance done like in the meantime while that's going on. So after we moved in, like we settled in, cleaned everything, and I just had a bad feeling about the amount of wear around like windows and doors. Again, windows and doors are like one of the biggest areas for there to be lead paint exposure because of the amount of like chipping and wear that you have there. And I just started feeling really worried about the number of layers of paint that I could see exposed. Like, things hadn't been painted in many, many years. I'm gonna open one of our windows. I'm just curious to see if you see paint chips fall off. It's just about every time you open or close the window, you see chips fall down, and that's not even the stuff you have to be that worried about. I mean, it's not good, but the stuff you really have to worry about is the microscopic stuff. This is like the original 1940 paint, never been painted over. And then these are all chips that are wearing away to that level. And pretty much every window looks like this, and every doorway. Not a good scene. So I trusted this bad feeling that I had. I requested test kits through the Lead Safe America Foundation for free. I'm going to link to them. They're going to be like my first link in the description box because they are a wealth of resources. This foundation is run by a mom of 2 lead-poisoned children who is just trying to do better for other families, you know? So if you have just found lead in your house or you're concerned that you might have it, this website is a great place to start. Alright, so I ordered test kits through the Lead Safe America Foundation. Like I said, they are free. I chose to make a donation to cover postage costs. They sent me 2 kits like this. They're like the official thing you could buy at Home Depot or whatever if you don't want to wait, if you just want to run to the store right now. This one is made by 3M. And what it gives you are 2 little swabs. There are some chemicals inside. You like crush 2 little vials inside here. It's not messy or anything. Mix it up, and then you just test surfaces. These are mostly used for like painted surfaces, and if there's basically they react only to lead. So if they turn pink or red, lead is there. So I think you can see our results, right? Yeah. So I tested a variety of surfaces through the house, and all of the older layers of paint that were exposed, that I was sort of worried about, were indeed lead paint based. So since we got that confirmation, Mike and I have just been kind of going crazy, like researching. We reached out to the county for resources that are available there. We also got our kids actually tested by just going to the pediatrician and getting a very simple like finger prick test right in the doctor's office. They could run the test right there. It's basically just like when you test for iron, you know, that amount of pain and suffering. Our kids both tested low at this point, thankfully. If they had tested high, we would be having a very different conversation right now, let me just say that. But at this point, they did test low. We've been in the house for 6 weeks. There is a lag time for, you know, lead to sort of accumulate in your body, so we're gonna have our kids retested every like 3 months or so, because the lag time is around 2 or 3 months. We have taken a bunch of steps to minimize risk within our house and like kind of do what we can with our current situation. I made a separate video on tips for ways to minimize risk. That'll be linked in the description box as well. I felt like it was important enough that it just needed its own video. So continuing with our saga, as soon as we got a positive test, we notified the property management company, and they basically said, we can't help you with that, you need to talk to the owner. And at this point we had never met the owner. So they said that the owner would contact us. We waited about a week, still didn't hear anything, and then finally she got in touch. We met her last week. She came over to the house to kind of see for herself what the problem was, and I explained everything, and we showed her all the different places. And we were let's just say we were very disappointed overall with the meeting. I've really been thinking about this as an issue that we can work together with the owner on, you know, that we all want this house to be livable and safe and well taken care of. However, the owner's, you know, main concern really is the cost of whatever repairs have to be made, and she's really concerned about the county, like, whatever, shutting down her rental house. Somehow, like, the place is going to get seized and she's not going to be able to rent it or whatever. She's sort of paranoid. The county doesn't even have the authority to do that unless, like, our kids' lead levels right now were like causing kidney damage or something, like super high, and she just doesn't believe that that's the case. So she's being sort of irrational, I think. I was really looking for like some empathy, some concern for our kids. Like, our kids were there with us, you know, the day that she came over, and she met them and she saw where they're sleeping and where they're playing and stuff, and we described having to keep windows closed and, you know, just all the steps that we're taking, and she was just kind of like, fine, you know, like, not my problem. That kind of attitude, I don't get it. Like, I don't get it. I don't get how you can't have any kind of concern for someone else's kids, especially when they're living in your place, you know? I don't know, I can't make somebody care, but we're gonna try. So next steps at this point, we have borrowed a vacuum with a HEPA filter. So actually in moving, our vacuum broke. It didn't have a HEPA filter, but HEPA is like the super high powered or super fine or whatever filter, like the best you can get to suck up as many dust particles of whatever sort. You know, it's good for people with allergies and things like that, whatever. So the county has a number of these really high-powered, great sort of industrial strength vacuums that you can borrow for free for a week. So we're doing that right now. I'm working on vacuuming everything, like just sucking up everything that isn't nailed down, basically. Mike and I are going to file for the county to do a risk assessment, which is free because we got a little note from our doctor saying that kids are living in this house and we have concerns and the house is old enough. Just that request alone, the county can come in and do a risk assessment and test the soil and test the water and look at all the little places and kind of educate us on what we need to be doing more or what we need to ask for, you know, sort of our areas of most concern. We are requesting, of course, that places that need to be repainted are going to be repainted by a certified, like a lead abatement certified person. And I don't know where we go from there. You know, we want to stay in this house. First of all, we have 10 more months left on the lease, and like we don't want to buy out 10 months and then still have to move. We're going into fall and winter here, and it was very hard to find a place that kind of suited our needs. And we like the house otherwise. You know, I think that the things that we're asking for are relatively simple. And unless something, you know, at this point with the things that we're doing, we've been assured by the county that we can like live here safely, doing the things that we're doing to minimize risk to the kids, and we'll continue to get them tested. And if something changes, then something changes, and then we'll make bigger changes. But at this point, you know, it seems like we're still at a point where like it's worth trying. It's worth trying to stay here and just get some of the repairs that we need to make it as safe as possible and whatever, still get to enjoy like the neighborhood and things being pretty good otherwise. So that's where we are. Hopefully sooner rather than later there will be a positive conclusion to the story and I can update you guys at that point. But thank you guys for watching. I really honestly do appreciate it. Just letting me vent a little bit and also be able to spread important information. Stay healthy.